Hello Cancer friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my March 2020 horoscope report for you. In this video we're going to talk about the general aspects with the stars, what's going on in the cosmos and how that's likely to affect the Cancer placements. We're going to talk about some important dates to note, and we're going to talk about Saturn moving into Aquarius and what that means for Cancer. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is what's going on in the personal planets, which are the ones closest to us. When we're talking about a monthly horoscope, the things that tend to change rapidly are the planets that move the quickest, which are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So the outer planets, the ones further from us, they take a really long time to move. And so, month to month, there's generally not a lot of change in their position in the sky or in your charts. But this month we have an outer planet Saturn moving into a different sign, so that's why we're going to make a big thing about that and address that. But when we're looking at what really changes month to month, it's these quick moving planets. And it happens to be that every single one of them is going to be in a sweet aspect to your placement. So that is exciting. I know that is a relief, a much welcome break. That Cancer placements have been going through the ringer or have been just super busy with productivity and accomplishment and maybe a little of both over the last eclipse cycle, which started in the middle of 2018 and ends this summer, or for you all down under, this winter. So this spot here in March is like a nice little rest where all of the planets are moving in a way that is in sync with your placement. Everything in astrology is mathematical. So when we look at how something affects something else, it's the mathematical angle between those signs that create the certain tensions or movement or relationship between, between what the planets and what that looks like or feels like, is different depending on what angle it is. So when you have planets moving through earth signs and water signs, those are all making great angles to your placements. So that's exciting. So we've got the Sun, which is moving through Pisces, so that's making beautiful 120 degree angles with your placement. So sweet blessings for your vibrance, your creativity, anything having to do with home or just like rest, vacation, doing some, I call it personal pursuits. Like it's an energy where things that you just want to do for the fun of it, for the sake of it, tend to come up a lot with this angle in this relationship. Then we have Mercury making the same angle, although it does briefly go into Aquarius, which is not as sweet an aspect for you. It's very fleeting. And so it may bring up, as it's part of the Mercury retrograde, something from the past that's not resolved, but there's a lightness to it compared to how it could be if you didn't have everything else in the stars matching your sign so nicely. And again, like I said, it's pretty brief, and then Mercury gets back into Pisces and makes all this beautiful angle again with all your placements. So that's another friend that you have. Venus right in the beginning of March is still in Aries, which is in a challenging aspect, but again, it's just the first couple of days and it's just the last couple of degrees. So those of you at the end of the sign, you'll be feeling that the most at this time, but it'll be really fast, okay? And then Venus is going to go into Taurus, which makes a beautiful 60 degree angle for your placement. So Venus in Taurus and Mars in Capricorn, which is also happening, which is, another nice angle for you, which we'll talk about that more. Venus in Taurus and Mars in Cap bring up this need to action or this call to action or this desire for action. So as you're reviewing with the retrograde energies, what things are working for you, what things aren't working for you, you might be making some tweaks and you might be ready to implement those things. And that's what these placements tend to show. Well, the good news is that you are about to have an open window. We are about to have an open window from March 30th through April 9th, which is our last window without a personal planet retrograde or post or pre-shadow period. Okay, so when Venus, Mercury, and Mars go retrograde, it brings us into this focus on the past, focus inward. And it's wonderful for so many things. It brings blessings from the past, which is very likely to occur this month for you all. It can bring projects and people from the past and, have them show up in a really sweet way. For the most part, those angles are just really sweet. So it's very likely that the things from the past, especially this month that are coming up, are going to be sweet. But if you have to like push something out into the world, have clarity about making a decision, do something big, what we really want is for the personal planets to be moving at their full steam, because it marks a birthday for something important. Like if you launch something or you make do something big, it's like a birth date for that experience. So you want it to be when there's momentum, okay? And if you have to do something like that, March 30th is when Mercury gets back to full speed after having been retrograde until around March 9th. And then Venus is not going to go retrograde yet, but its pre-transit shadow period starts after April 9th. So from March 30th through April 9th, you have this really great window. So what I'm suggesting and what I'm personally doing is that you let March kind of unfold in this organic way without too many big plans. Just kind of expect to be quiet, close to, your internal space. And then as opportunities come up, as they will for many of you with the way these aspects are moving, take a little time, unless you have to act right away, unless it's something short term. When we're talking about a retrograde, if there's a short term decision you have to make, those are fine. It's the big, long lasting, harder to change, higher stakes things that you want to push into the March 30th through April 9th. But just for general things that are low stakes, you can maneuver through the retrogrades, without worry. So if something comes up, it's kind of a big deal, or you're not sure. Remember, we're learning, everybody's learning, but especially, as Cancer's been going through this cycle, to really trust your intuition. You've been getting shown time and time again how when you don't, things don't go well for you. So you're going to have some opportunities here to trust your intuition and just kind of tune in, and you might not have clarity until towards the end of March, in which case you'll have a great open window to act and it will be great. All right, so Venus rules love, beauty, and money. That being in a sweet aspect for you can bring lots of things related to romance, to your relationships, to your finances. And again, except for the first couple of days of the month, that's going to be in a sweet angle the whole month. So hopefully you'll have lots of blessings there. Mars moving through Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign that's opposite yours. So even though, like I said, in general, earth and water movements is really good for you all and really just sweet, when you have something opposing your placement, it does tend to put some more pressure. So even though I see it as actually good, it's like calling to action, it's forcing you to action. When it's in this 180-degree angle, like Mars is going to be, or still is, we should say, because it started in February and it will continue for the rest of this month until almost the very last day of the month, then it's like it's pulling at you, and it's pulling you in two different directions. So those of you who are June-born Cancers, you will have already had this Mars oppose your placement in February. So for the rest of you, and I'm also talking about for if you have Cancer Moon or Cancer Rising, so if you're like 0 to 9 degrees for your Cancer placement, then this Mars opposition that could cause the pressure, the stress, kind of like pulling you in both directions, that happens in February, towards the end of February. For the rest of you, throughout the whole month of March, depending on where you are in the sign, it's going to oppose your placement, and you'll probably feel it, Again, this can be very positive, but it usually involves some stress. Sometimes the stress can come from overstimulation, and this is what we always see with this 180-degree angle. It's like you're being pulled this way, you're being pulled this way. Sometimes the things you're being pulled between are great, and like you love them, and you're so excited that those things are working out for you, but they're just happening at the same time, which is causing you to have to do like a lot at the same time. So even within the retrograde energy, expect it to be quite busy because Mars is calling you to action. So you'll want to make the most of that beautiful window from March 30th through April 9th, because we're not going to have any other days in the whole of 2020 where we're not at least in a shadow period of a retrograde. There'll be times that, you could do some things if you have to do them and for these launches and things like that, but you're never going to have for 2020 another series of dates that doesn't have any influence of the retrogrades. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so you're being called to action. You have to do necessary things. You're going to trust your intuition. You're not going to act if you're not sure. You're going to listen, pay attention to the window. A couple of other dates to note. One is March 19th. So March 19th is the beginning of the astrological new year. Usually, we think of it like it's either the 19th, the 20th, or the 21st. But this year it's earlier, it's March 19th. And the start of the astrological new year is very exciting. It's when all the energies start to move into Aries, and this is new zest, new life, new beginnings, excitement, action, activity, and it's it's a start of an astrological new year. So even though we start our year in the beginning of January, that doesn't always feel like a new year, although in 2020 it did. There was a lot of karma clearing from the eclipses. But when the astrological new year starts, it's just like a lot of zest, a new cycle is beginning. March 24th is the new moon in Aries, and that is a kickoff party for the new year. The new moon in Aries is one of the best times to do a vision board. A vision board is where you either clip out pictures online or you clip out pictures in a magazine, and you put together a board of things that you're wanting to manifest more of in your life. They can be exact things like a greenhouse or, something specific. Or it can be like abundance, love, patience, whatever embodies the energies that you're trying to bring more of into your life. Those vision boards can help with that. And astrological power periods like the new moon in Aries is one of the best seed planting times. So planting seeds that can grow over time is this special forte of this time, of this aspect, right? So make sure you know that day and you can do some important things at that time. And even though Mercury doesn't completely get back to normal until March 30th, between March 24th and March 27th, there are going to be some really nice aspects that you can utilize if things are feeling ready to move forward, and you might see things starting to really, really move forward. That experience of moving forward is very likely. Okay, so the new moon is going to square your placement. So the way, especially those of you who are June born, the rest of you, and that could be a little bit stressful. The rest of you, it squares your sign, but it doesn't hit you exactly. So it might be less intense. But remember, the energy is pretty short-lived, and usually what it's going to be in this case of like an Aries energy conflicting with your watery emotional energy is like a call to action. Okay, so all over your chart, you have these calls to action that you have to do certain things, and what those certain things are going to be revealed. All right, so the last thing that I want to talk about has to do with Saturn moving into Aquarius. Like I was saying before, when an outer planet or the ones further from us change signs, it's a really big deal because they take a really long time to move around, and they don't change signs except for, it's years in between, and sometimes many years in between. So Saturn moving into Aquarius means that it's bringing new energies, new themes, a new angle with your placement, but it's also bringing movement into a new house or field of experience for you. But this is a little deceiving for this year, and I want to give you some details about this, okay? Because Saturn is going to be moving into the energy of Aquarius. And for you, Aquarius is in the 8th house, okay? So, but again, like I said, this is a little deceiving because Saturn's going to get to Aquarius, but it's only going to get up to 1 degree. So there's 30 degrees in each sign, okay? So just imagine kind of like this circle, 360 degrees in a circle. The measurement that we use to measure the circle is the degrees. 360 divided by the 12 constellations is 30 degrees in each sign. So 0 up until 29 is the length of a zodiac sign. So Saturn is going to get to 0 degrees of Aquarius, then 1 degree of Aquarius, then it's going to go retrograde. So it's actually going to spend most of 2020 back in Capricorn. So not in the 8th house, basically. And then at the end of the year, it will get back to that 0-1 degree point, okay? But only those of you at the very beginning of the sign are going to really start to have the themes of what Saturn looks like in the 8th house. The rest of you might get some whispers, okay? So, July born friends, you might start to get whispers of Saturn moving into your 8th house. But for the vast majority of you all, even those of you born at the end of June, except for those first couple of days of the sign, you're not going to have Saturn in your 8th house until 2021 or later. The later you are in the sign, Saturn's going to be there until March of 2023. The later you are in the sign, it's not going to get there from the Placidus chart perspective until could be years. So the reason why I wanted to take a little time to explain this is because you're probably going to be hearing people say, Saturn is changing signs, Saturn's going into your 8th house, this is what this means. And I wanted to just kind of break it down for you a little bit to say, yes, it does mean those things. But in the Placidus chart, which is the type of astrology that I do, which is one of the popular types of astrology, there are other, systems. it's not actually going to get to your 8th house for what could be a very long time. So what that means is that this is going to be staggered for you. Okay, so now what does Saturn moving through a house mean? What does it mean in the 7th house, which is where it's still going to be for you all? And what does it mean in the 8th house? So every sign, every placement, every planet has a range of potential expressions from lowest to highest. And within that range, there's, difficult things, and then there's awesome things. So Saturn rules, the lower end of it is this hardships, difficulties, walking through mud, things taking a long time, obstacles, depressive energies, heaviness, challenges, difficulties. But its higher expression is pure manifestation. It's like from idea to form, something that you've been thinking or feeling or knowing or trying. It like takes shape right before you. So accomplishment, recognition, being honored, getting to your goals, completing something that has long-lasting value, long-term security, financial security, things that you're building upon that have a solid foundation that you can just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. So that's the higher end of what Saturn wants. And where Saturn has been working for Cancers for the last years is on your relationships. Now, it's been working globally for everybody in the areas of work, career. So this, you're also included in this: work, career, establishing, your work, your influence, your, finances, your, place out in the world, basically. And also has been working the sector of fathers and father figures. So your relationship with father figures, your relationship with authority figures based on the, father figures that you've had. And could be actually things going on with your dad, whether they're, he's helping you, or he needs help, or he has had something going on of note. So there's still going to be all of that energy for the rest of 2020. Because even for the brief time it dips into Aquarius, it's not going to get far enough away from Capricorn to completely lose its influence, and it will retrograde back there. All right, so the 7th house, where it's been for Cancer, has to do with your relationships. Building your relationships, testing your relationships. Saturn could have broken relationships that were long relationships that pressure, and either they could take the pressure and grew. So you might have had hardships and then your relationships grew and got better. Or the pressure showed you that it's not good for the long term and it broke. So you're still going to have some more lessons, some more integration in your relationship sector, and some more work to do there. This could be very exciting though. This Saturn can bring in your person, like Saturn brings in people of long-term consequence. So like your marital partner, a person of consequence within a friendship or a project, or a client base, building a client base. Saturn is amazing for that. So you still have 2020, all of you, every single placement has this energy of still like working to establish your foundation, working to establish your relationships, working to recreate your relationships and watch the tests and only keep the ones that really can have the long-term viability. So that's going to predominate for the rest of the year. Now, those of you towards the beginning, you may have the influence of Saturn in the 8th house start to get loud, okay? But still, the rest of you, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because even though it might be a little longer before you really see these themes get kicking, you may see the themes start. And if you know what's happening beforehand, you can do work beforehand to help get the better end of the potentials. Something else I want to remind you is that Saturn brings gifts. It hazes, it busts your chops, but it actually brings gifts. So all the hard work you're doing with your work, your business, your career, your place out in the world, your authority figures, your, figuring out your life purpose. If you don't have a job or work, that's fine. Like what you're doing here, your purpose, your relationships, all of the things that you're working towards, every piece of discipline and hard work and all of the other principles of Saturn that you put into those things, when Saturn does completely leave the sign and the house of the 7th house, you're very likely to get Saturn gifts, which are long-term accomplishments, things that you will have with you maybe for the rest of your life. So just hang in there, keep doing the work, even if it's not paying off completely yet. There's a very good chance that 2020 can be a pivotal year in those areas. You just have to keep your nose to the grindstone, because that's what Saturn says. Now, understanding Saturn going into the 8th house, you can start to do things now that could lead you to the higher end when it finally gets to your 8th house. So I want all of you to still pay attention. It's just know that this might be staggered. The 8th house is another relationship house, so it is a continuation of the storyline of the 7th house, but this is relationships with resources. You and your partner and your stuff, like your money and your karma and your family relations and your family line and inheritances and the government and you and the money and the government and taxes and debt and, financing, anything having to do with those things. Taxes, loans, anything like that. So Saturn moving in there can actually give you access to loans or money that you need. It can give you productive debt where you borrow money, but you do something big with it. It can mean somebody in a position to help you will actually help you, whether it's a government program or whether it's somebody with money and clout or whatever it is, a family member. So if you want to buy a house, if you want to start a business, if you want to do anything that needs capital backing, Saturn in the 8th house can help you with that. Now, this is one of the most important things to know, and I really base all of my astrology work on this point. Astrological transits bring out unconscious factors. They're unconscious factors that are directing our lives that bubble up into consciousness, depending on what goes on with the stars and how it connects into our placements. But if you have a storyline, if you have like a belief system or a family karma, baggage situation, ancestral things, the planets will bow down to your story. So like, let's say Saturn moving into the 8th house says, okay, you need some help getting your debt thing worked out, or you need some help getting a loan. We can help you. Saturn says we can do this, right? But if you have a belief system, I'm alone, I can't get any help, no, everybody lets me down, you can actually block the support that Saturn wants to give you. So doing inner work around healing betrayal, one of my favorite resources for preparing for this transit and for best utilizing this transit is the work done by Margaret Lynch. She's an engineer turned coach. Now she trains coaches, but she uses the modality EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, which helps to locate your money consciousness. This transit is very much about money consciousness, locating where your money consciousness is failing you and where it's working. So like if you have good money consciousness, this will seek to add to your lot. If you don't, it will show up the problems and you might be saying, oh my God, I'm getting crushed under it. But it's showing you your money consciousness. So now if you use something like Margaret Lynch's work, she has a great YouTube channel with free videos. She has a book called Tapping into Wealth. The name is a little misleading because it's not just about creating financial wealth. It's about clearing blocks to wealth on every level, emotional wealth, relationship wealth, and you can heal toxic money situations. So anything that you can do on your belief systems with your finances is going to give you a leg up with this Saturn transit so that it can manifest more for you. Okay, so in general, really exciting stuff for Cancers. Finally, hopefully, a little more of a break for you. Now, do know that even as I say, maybe it will be a break, your personal chart is something I can't see, so I don't know what will happen for everybody. And also, back to what we talked about with the storyline. If you have belief systems that won't let you get out of, feeling like a victim, and you're not doing anything to heal that, then no matter how good the stars look for you, you could still have trouble. So if that's happening, let that be a cue to you like, oh boy, I've got some stuff, in there that's not vibrationally matching what the stars want to bring out for me in a positive way. But in general, with all that being said, super supportive for Cancers this month. I'm so happy to report it because I know you guys have had some hard times. And so it looks like the stars are definitely on your side at this time. If you want more resources on how you can use astrology to help yourself and make your life the best, I have lots of blogs at anniehelpsyou.com. You want to get a leg up on Venus retrograde, I have a ton of resources. Just if you search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde, I have a lot of blogs on Venus retrograde through the signs, through the houses, the do's and don'ts for Venus retrograde. Because as of April 9th, the shadow period starts. So if there's things that aren't the best to do in Venus retrograde, you might want to use that window between March 30th and April 9th to do them but it's not going to help you if you don't know what they are. So check out those resources. If you'd love to learn astrology, if you'd love to become a professional astrologer or use it as part of an offering that's professional, or just for your own self-development and interest because you love astrology, you will love my course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. You can see it at AnnieHelpsYou.com. You can go to LUME-Life, L-U-M-E Life.com. If you click on the See More button underneath each video that I have, it will reveal these website links. So if you don't remember what I say, then you can click See More, and then it will reveal of the notes where you can click on to my school, LUMELife.com. And that's my school is Luminous Life Multiversity, and this course is very comprehensive. There's so many modules, it will just blow your mind. If you would like to have other information about horoscope things, sometimes different things that we talk about in these horoscopes, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. I also have lifestyle blogs there, you know, tea blends for the different signs, yoga through the different signs, maximizing the sun's movement through the different signs. It's just a wonderland again. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.